Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always up for a good mystery.
Well, get ready because this one's a real grabber. We're heading to West London, 2009, for the murder of Geeta Oraka.
This case. It was all over the news back then.
Absolutely. Captivated the UK. We're going to break it all down using this YouTube video from the Real Crime Channel. It's called Twisted Obsession. Very fitting, right?
Definitely sounds like we're in for some twists and turns.
Oh, you better believe it. Love, betrayal, the classic true crime elements. But we'll also be looking at the deeper stuff, the cultural pressures and the psychology behind a crime like this.
Right, because it's not just about who did it, but why they did it. What drives a person to that point?
Exactly. So let's start by getting to know Geeta. She was this vibrant young woman, part of a close family in Southall.
Popular, did well in school, and she loved Bollywood. Actually, she even achieved her dream of working at Sunrise Radio. It's that detail that really hits home. It makes it all the more tragic.
It does. It really makes you realize this could happen to anyone. A life full of promise, just shattered.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Okay, so let's bring in Harprit Oraka, also known as Sunny. He was Geeta's husband, and right from the start, Geeta's family had their doubts about him.
They weren't exactly thrilled, were they? From what I remember, he was known around Southall for, well, not being the most trustworthy guy, taking advantage of people, not too keen on an honest day's work. There were stories of him drinking too much, causing a scene. Didn't exactly inspire confidence.
And yet she eloped with him to Belgium.
Young love, right. Sometimes those red flags just blend into the background when you're head over heels.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But that elopement, it's kind of key, isn't it? Sets the stage for everything that comes after.
Absolutely. It marks a turning point, and unfortunately things took a darker turn after the marriage. Sonny's true colors started to show, and his controlling, abusive behavior just kept escalating.
Yeah, it got really bad. He dictated everything. What she wore, who she could see, basically monitoring her every move.
That's classic controlling behavior right there. And it takes its toll. It's psychological abuse, and it can be just as damaging as physical violence. It erodes a person's confidence, their sense of self. She was trapped in a cycle of fear and control.
It's awful. And she tried, to make it work, especially for their two sons. But Sonny's behavior just kept spiraling. He was convinced he was having an affair, even though there was no evidence.
That paranoia, that possessiveness, it's a dangerous cocktail. And it ultimately led to the breaking point in their relationship.
And that break came when Geeta finally had enough. She filed for divorce. Sonny left for India, but did that give her the peace she so desperately needed?
Not a chance. He became a shadow, lurking in the background, harassing her from afar, endless phone calls, hacking into her social media, spreading rumors about her at the radio station. He couldn't let go. He couldn't bear the thought of her moving on, living a happy life.
That need for control, even from a distance, it's chilling.
Classic hallmark of domestic abuse. Even when the relationship is over, the abuser seeks to dominate their victim. It's a truly frightening aspect of these cases.
And Geeta, she was genuinely terrified. She told friends she felt like she was being followed.
It's bone-chilling to think about what must have been going through her mind.
And tragically, her fears were justified. Just when she was starting to rebuild her life, find happiness again, Sonny returned from India.
Like a bad penny. He couldn't stand the thought of her thriving without him.
Exactly, and really reveals a lot about his character, his motivations. Then, on November 16th, 2009, the unimaginable happened.
The day that changed everything.
Geeta was attacked, brutally, while walking to pick up her sons from their childminder. The attack was so vicious it left her with horrific injuries.
Attacked from behind, with a machete. The level of premeditation, the brutality, it's just shocking.
Her family, who had been so worried for her safety, they received the devastating news that she wouldn't survive. I can't even imagine the pain, the disbelief they must have felt in that moment.
To lose someone so suddenly, so violently, it's a wound that never truly heals.
And of course, suspicion immediately fell on Sonny. The troubled relationship, his controlling behavior, the relentless harassment, it all pointed to him.
The police moved quickly, tracked him down to a house. He was with several other men. They were all arrested.
But here's where things take a turn. Sonny had what seemed like an airtight alibi. He claimed he was at a pub playing pool with friends. He even had CCTV footage and witness statements to back him up.
So it seemed like a dead end, right? But in this case, appearances were deceiving. It was, for a while. They hit a wall. But then a new lead came out of nowhere.
Really? A break in the case.
A guy named Jazan Dylan walks into the police station, says he knows something about the murder, Says he got caught up in the whole thing but didn't mean to be involved.
Wow. So whether he meant to or not, his testimony was huge for the investigation.
Absolutely crucial. Dylan told them he'd been driven to the murder scene and actually witnessed the killer getting rid of the murder weapon in a jacket, dumping them in a canal.
Wait, so now there's another guy involved, and they found the weapon.
Yep. Based on what Dylan told them, they fished out the jacket and a pair of trainers from that canal. Big breakthrough. Matched up with Dylan's story, gave them forensic evidence.
Okay, but who is this other guy? This killer?
Shar Singh, young guy, just arrived from India. With Dylan pointing the finger and the new evidence, the police moved fast to pick him up.
Makes sense. They had a suspect directly tied to the crime scene. But why? What was his motive? Did he even know Geeta?
That's where things get even more interesting. Shar Singh, he just clammed up, didn't say a word during questioning, no explanation, no motive, nothing.
So, mystery man, no motive, but his DNA was on the jacket, and Dylan identified him. Seems like they had their guy, but something's not adding up here.
You're picking up on it, right. The pieces didn't quite fit, so the police, they started digging into Shar Singh's background and made a pretty surprising discovery. Links to Sunny. Remember Sunny went back to India after the divorce? Well, turns out when Shar Singh first came to the UK, he stayed at a place rented by Sunny's brother.
Okay, that's a bit too coincidental, don't you think?
And it gets better. Turns out Sunny and Shar Singh are from the same small village in India. Families live just a mile and a half apart.
Wow. Okay, that's way too much of a coincidence. Sounds like Sunny might have been pulling strings behind the scenes all along.
And remember that airtight alibi Sunny had? The pub, the friends, the CCTV?
Yeah.
Well, turns out it wasn't so airtight after all. There was a gap, a window of time where he could have slipped away to the murder scene and back.
So the alibi wasn't as solid as it first appeared? But if Sunny was behind this, why? What would push him to this? It's extreme.
It is. And the investigators were struggling with that same question. They started looking into a pretty chilling possibility. Honor killing.
Honor killing. What does that even mean in this context?
It's when someone is killed by their own family or someone from their community because they think that person brought shame or dishonor upon them.
So are you saying that Geeta divorcing Sunny, that could have been seen as such a huge offense against their culture? So bad that it was punishable by death?
It's a theory they were looking at, definitely, especially considering the cultural background, the close ties between Sunny and Shar Singh's families back in India. And remember, you said yourself Sunny couldn't handle Geeta moving on. In some cultures, a woman's independence is seen as a threat to family honor.
So in Sunny's mind, Geeta was making him and his family look bad. But even if that was the case, what was in it for Shar Singh? Why would he get involved?
Well, think about it. Young guy, new to the country, maybe owed Sunny a favor for helping him get here. Could have been driven by loyalty, obligation, maybe even fear.
It's a scary thought. Someone so young and impressionable being dragged into something so horrible. But were there any direct links between Sunny and Shar Singh besides their background? Something more concrete?
As a matter of fact, there was. Remember that wedding video we mentioned? Turns out both Sunny and Shar Singh were at Sunny's brother's wedding back in India, dancing together in the video, looking pretty comfortable with each other.
Okay, so they knew each other.
Yeah.
And it was friendly. Hard to believe it's all coincidence at this point.
Right. And then there's this. One of the guys living at the same place as Shar Singh, he gave the police some pretty disturbing information.
Like what?
He told them about something he saw just a month before the murder. Sunny was at the house with a bunch of people, Shar Singh included, and Sunny just casually offered 5,000 pounds to anyone who would kill someone for him.
He just put a hit out on someone. Just like that.
Yeah.
And he had that kind of cash lying around.
Oh, yeah. The police knew Sunny had access to a lot of money. He was involved in some car fraud scheme. So not only did he have a possible motive, he had the means to make it happen.
This just keeps getting darker. But even with all that, it's still circumstantial, right? Was there any solid proof that actually connected Sunny to the murder?
There was. The police, they were determined to track down that machete. Figured it might be the missing link. And what they found, well, it blew the case wide open. They got the CCTV footage from the shop where the machete was bought. And guess who's there? Clear as day, buying the thing. Sunny himself. Just 5 days before Geeta's murder.
He bought the murder weapon. Himself. That's cold. He was planning this the whole time.
The footage shows him looking it over, running his hand along the blade, even asked about getting it sharpened. No question, this was premeditated. It was the proof they needed. directly linked Sunny to the murder.
So they rearrested him, right?
You bet they did. And this time, Sunny's little act crumbled. They also managed to finally track down the driver, Harprit Singh, remember him, the one Tillon mentioned?
Yeah.
Well, they caught him getting into his car one morning. Turns out he was the brother-in-law of the guy Dylan called Savak Sala. That's how he got roped into all this.
Okay, so now they had Sunny the mastermind, Shar Singh the attacker, Harpreet the getaway driver. Case closed, right?
You'd think so. But remember, our helpful witness, Jaswant Singh Dylan. They took a closer look at his phone records, and it turns out his role was a lot more sinister than he let on.
Hold on, you're saying he was more than just a witness?
Oh yeah, way more. Those phone records showed a ton of calls between Dylan and Sunny before the murder. Police started thinking maybe he was in on it from the start, helping plan the whole thing.
Wow. So he was feeding the police info while being involved in the murder? That's messed up.
It's a reminder that you can't always trust appearances. Even the people who seem helpful can have a hidden agenda.
So it wasn't just Sunny and Shar Singh who were responsible for Geeta's death. It was a conspiracy. 4 guys, all working together to pull this off.
And those phone records, they backed it all up, showed all 4 of them talking before, during, and after the murder. Clear evidence of a coordinated attack. They even met up near the murder scene a few days before, like they were doing a practice run.
That's terrifying. They were stalking her, planning it out step by step.
On the night of the murder, the phone records went crazy. Back and forth, confirming positions, coordinating the attack, then reporting back to Sunny once it was done.
It's unbelievable, like something out of a movie. But this was real life, real consequences. So what happened to them? Did they pay for what they did?
Oh, yeah. The trial was about a year later. The prosecution laid it all out, all the evidence they'd gathered. All 4 of those guys, they pleaded not guilty. But the evidence was overwhelming. Sunny, Shar Singh, Dylan, and Harprit Singh, they were all found guilty of murder.
Justice was served. What were their sentences?
Sunny got life, minimum 28 years. The other 3 got life too, minimum 22 years each.
That's fitting. What about Sunny? During the trial, did he show any remorse at all?
You wouldn't believe it. Witnesses said he was smirking, laughing even, blowing kisses to Geeta's family in the courtroom.
That's evil. He orchestrated the murder of his children's mother, and he acts like he's the victim.
No remorse, not a shred. It's chilling. Tells you a lot about the kind of person he is.
So while justice was served in the legal sense, the emotional scars, especially for Geeta's family, those run deep.
Of course. They lost a daughter, a sister, a mother, in the most horrific way imaginable. They'll never truly recover from that.
You know, we've laid out the investigation, the trial, the convictions, but there's still one big question hanging over all of this. Why?
Why did Sunny do it? Was it just jealousy, that need for control we talked about, or was it something more? Those cultural pressures, that twisted sense of honor? We may never know for sure, but this case, it makes us think about some really uncomfortable truths about societal expectations, cultural norms, and how that can fuel violence against women.
It's easy to get caught up in the details, the twists and turns of the case, but we can't forget the human cost. Geeta was a young woman. She had dreams, ambitions, a family who loved her, and her life was cut short because of someone else's rage and possessiveness.
And the saddest part is Geeta, like a lot of women trapped in abusive relationships, she was afraid to go to the police. Tried to handle it on her own, maybe hoping Sunny would just back off.
It's a tragic mistake that a lot of people make, thinking an abuser will just change on their own. But that's rarely the case. Domestic abuse, it's all about power and control. It usually doesn't stop without some kind of intervention.
This case is a reminder to all of us. We need to recognize the warning signs. Controlling behavior, isolating someone from their loved ones, constant criticism, threats. These are all red flags. Don't ignore them.
Absolutely. If you see these signs in your own relationship or someone you know, get help. There are people out there, organizations dedicated to supporting victims, helping them escape these situations.
It's about speaking up, reaching out, knowing you're not alone. In this case, it goes beyond a single crime. It's a reflection of deeper issues in society, the misogyny that leads to violence against women.
Geeta's story is a tragedy, but it's also a wake-up call. We have to learn from this, work to prevent it from happening again. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out. You don't have to go through this alone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we hope you'll think about the bigger picture. What can we do in our own lives, in our communities, to challenge these harmful norms, support victims of abuse, create a world that's safer and more just for everyone?
Geeta's story shouldn't be forgotten. It should be a reminder to all of us. A reminder to be aware, to take action, and to work towards ending violence against women.
For good.